Summer is over, kids are going back to school, Congress is going back to work. Today, the Senate will resume following their summer recess. Lawmakers will have some key decisions to make as each party tries to gain more seats in November. Here to discuss all of it in greater detail is congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Hey there, Nikole. So what's on the Senate's agenda this week?
Well, look, it's back to business. It's back to school, back to work for a lot of folks, and it's back to Congress for these lawmakers who have been off for the better part of August. So senators will start off the week considering some judicial nominations, but more significantly in terms of legislation, some of the things on their to-do list include whether or not they will take up a bill on same-sex marriage. This is a bill that has cleared the House. In essence, it would codify marriage equality rights into law. And this is a piece of legislation that kind of comes on the heels of, in particular, Democrats' efforts to try to codify abortion rights into law a couple of before the recess, which so far has not been successful in the Senate. But again, there does seem to be some bipartisan support with respect to this particular bill. We also know that lawmakers, for instance, will have to pass some spending bills to keep the government up and running before the end of September. So those are just a couple of the measures that they'll be trying to take up as soon as they get back.
So that's what's on the agenda, Nikole. What's the chance that things actually get accomplished, particularly when it comes to the question of marriage equality?
Well, this is something actually that lawmakers have been working on for some time, even ahead of the recess. It was unclear initially whether or not they might even consider it before the recess, but I think they wanted to try to build more consensus. We know on the Senate side, for instance, Senator Tammy Baldwin has really been trying to speak to a lot of her Republican colleagues to try to coalesce and build support. And we did see support over on the House side, bipartisan support for this measure. So it's certainly possible, but I think lawmakers just wanted the time to build that support. Also worth noting, lawmakers are also seeking bipartisan support when it comes to reforms related to the election. You have the legislation that has come out of a bipartisan group that would basically reform the Electoral Count Act, which is this kind of antiquated law, which was the subject of a lot of what we heard over the course of the summer with some of those January 6th hearings, as far as the role that the vice president plays, the role that the Congress plays in terms of certifying the results of the election. So again, in the Senate, there has been a bipartisan group trying to work around legislation that was introduced just before the recess. So I also imagine they'll probably take that up as well at some point before this Congress session ends.
Nikole, so that's all the Senate. The House, though, is still on recess. Real quick, when are they back, and what can we expect from that chamber when they return?
So they'll be back next week. One of the big things to watch over there is there's a package of policing bills and public safety bills that moderate Democrats in particular have been pushing because, as you know, some Democrats have been struggling with this messaging around defund the police. And so therefore, there's this package of bills where they want to increase funding to the police so that they can, obviously tell their constituents that is what they stand for and that's what they're about. But there has been some back and forth progress, particularly with more progressive members of the Congressional Black Caucus who want to see some accountability language attached to those measures. So we know there were negotiations and discussions over the recess. Whether or not they will present a package when they return next week remains to be seen. That certainly was the hope among a number of lawmakers. And then don't forget, as I mentioned, you had those January 6th hearings over the summer. We know that the committee has been working throughout the recess. They do expect to hold at least one more hearing. And of course, they continue to try to solicit interviews and depositions from people as recently as Newt Gingrich last week. So that is something to watch as we know they work towards a final report.
All right, Nikole, thank you.
You bet.